Hi there, ladies and gentlemen. Stephen Dossou back online. Today we're hanging out with Manuel all the way from Vancouver. I'm gonna let you in on this secret, right? So I was speaking to this gentleman actually before we come on air, and I was asking him, so how do I introduce you? Like, what are the titles that you want? And he was like, hey, listen, forget the titles, man. As long as you can make an impact, that's what is important. So that already gives you an image of who we are today, right? But nevertheless, he's a transformational coach, a man that is dating his wife. Hear me carefully. He's dating his wife, right? He's a keynote speaker and has done works, all over the world, with different kind of people. Actually, I met him in Bali where we used to hang out, speak at, some small event. And you know what? He's a man of inspiration, right? He's a man of impact. He's a man that wants to inspire through every single thing he does. So as you know, the mission of Ignite Transformation TV is to find the right people that can share with you their lessons, their techniques, whatever they've done that made them successful, and it's giving them the right mindset to live day by day. And that's why today we welcome Mr. Manuel. How you doing, my brother?
Stephen, I miss your energy, brother. I really do. It's you always bring a smile to my face, and every time I talk to you, I just feel like I got to go run a marathon. So it's wonderful to see you again, and honored to be here today to have a conversation about, well, life, right? I mean, that's really what we're talking about. We're talking about life, and it was interesting. I had a keynote earlier today, and I was talking all about passion, purpose, and process, right? My three favorite P's. And it came up, is this idea of perspective. I guess that's another P, but this idea of how we look at the world. And I just addressed the fact, if on a table we got a glass of water and it's half full. Yeah, we've heard this cliche. Well, is it half full or is it half empty? It really doesn't matter because both are right. But what does it mean to you? Right? How do you see it? That's really what matters. I mean, we can talk about the semantics and argue language all day long, but really it comes down to perspective. How do we look at the world? How do we look at ourselves? What do we believe to be true? And it's amazing how, well, we're very good at putting filters on things, So anyways, today filters are off. Let's get down and dirty and get real with it, right?
Love that, man. Love that. Love that. But hey, listen, before, I dive into my boxing questions to you, I mean, I've just given a brief introduction about you, right? So please feel free to tell, our listeners and viewers who you are, what you do, where you're from, how have you been, and all of that.
Well, listen, I believe that all of us are on a journey. Joseph Campbell called it the hero's journey, and it's nothing new. I mean, it's been around for as long as we've been able to tell stories. Even the first people that painted paintings on the walls of caves were very good storytellers and documenting these heroic journeys that we all find ourselves on from time to time. And my journey's been, well, lots of ups, downs, overs and unders, and lots of roadblocks, lots of learnings, which I used to believe were mistakes, but they're learnings, and so, just to sort of put some context to it, I'm 43 years young, soon to be 44 next month. I'm a proud father of two beautiful teenage daughters. They're 17 and 15 now, Chardonnay and Brie. For those that just caught that, yeah, wine and cheese, a couple socialites in the making. I've been dating my wife now for 20 years. And yeah, we like to think of ourselves as life enhancers. So our main focus in life is to impact people both offline and online. We look at online as a great tool to create greater impact, especially well beyond our immediate geographical reach. But we love connecting with people offline. And we do this in lots of different ways. And my background, I don't come to fitness naturally, even though I'm very passionate about fitness and healthy lifestyle and nutrition and just really ways of optimizing our sense of well-being in all areas. But I didn't come to that naturally. I was morbidly obese as a teenager. So 5 years I spent in a state of extreme unhealth and lots of depression and all the usual cliches that are attached or stereotypes that are attached to someone in that state of unhealth. That was my life, but made some big changes. Took a couple of years to realize those changes and to live them out. But that then impacted the next 25 years of my life, where I've been working with people to literally help them get out of their own way and create the life and the lifestyles that they really want. But recognize this, Stephen.
Yeah.
I say what they want. Most people come to me or they reach out to me. They don't know what they want.
Okay.
You know, and that's the first thing I often ask people. It's like, well, hey, what do you want? And they're like, what do you mean? What do I want for dinner? Or what do I want to watch on Netflix? No, I'm like, what do you want for your life? And they're like, I don't know. And they get very anxious, a lot of anxiety around that, you know, a lot of stress. And so what I try to help people do is take the stress and anxiety out of that question, get them excited about it, but then find clarity, because with clarity comes confidence. And when you feel confident, you're able to take action. Because at the end of the day, if you're not taking action, you're not going to see any forward momentum. You're not going to see any results. It's all about the action and the things that we do. Because ultimately the things that we do is what we become. And what we become, well, that's limitless if we want it to be. So that's a little bit of background on me at A to B. Obviously there's a lot of stuff in between, but I'm sure that will come out as we talk.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Dai. You know, some things I picked up quickly from you know, the little introduction that you gave just now. You said, you know, your mistakes are learning. Okay, and I think that on its own, you know, it's the mindset. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? You know, why do you take your mistakes as learning? Because I mean, like, every day we beat ourselves, right? Like, you know, I've done this mistake. You know, I wish I didn't do this. I've done this. So, why? How do you, you know, make a mistake a synonym of learning?
Well, it's a choice for one, and it largely comes just with maturity. And when I say maturity, experiences. Obviously, I am someone who's always striving to grow and to evolve. You know, I'm always becoming. When I'm becoming, well, that's arguable. We can argue about that. But I like to believe I'm always evolving. You know, I'm always learning. And more importantly, I'm always implementing what I'm learning to create a certain result. Unfortunately, sometimes the results aren't what I wanted, and sometimes they can be negative. You know, but negative is a label that I would attach to it. And in the moment, and I want to be full transparency here and be fully authentic with you. You know, when you're in the heat of it, and you've made those big mistakes or blunders or made an error or done something that you instantly regret, or maybe after a little bit of time regret, that's real. In the moment, it's tough, right? It's just like, oh my goodness, the world is ending. And we're very quick to judge ourselves and beat ourselves up. And what I've realized is that's just a tendency. It's a habit that I've conditioned in myself from an early age, you know, of constantly beating and judging myself. And so as I've grown and as I've worked on it, you know, because I'm really big on conditioning the muscle between the ears, the mind, right? Just like a muscle on our body. We got to go to the gym and work it out. Well, you got to stretch those muscles between the ears. You got to work the mind. You got to condition it. And so I'm very aware of the inputs. You know, what are the books I'm reading? Who are the people I'm associating with? What are the things I'm learning every day? And how does this apply to my life? Because taking general knowledge and turning it into wisdom involves an action. It involves implementation. It involves actually looking at what we do, assessing the results, and then adapting, right? Correct and assess. Assess and correct. Both goes both ways. So it's really a choice. It's a perspective on how I look at. I make mistakes all the time. I celebrate them. You know, sometimes in the moment it's not very enjoyable, but I've just realized it's one way. I won't have to try to do it again. You know, I'm going to learn. I'm going to move past it. So not to say it's not hard. Yeah, it provides a lot of challenges, but I look at those as opportunities to continue my desire to grow. So it's simply a choice on how I want to look at things. Simply like how I explained that glass of water that's on the table. How you see it is probably very different than how I see it. But every once in a while, we might agree on something. That's cool. That's great. That's awesome. That's wonderful. But at the end of the day, I got to be worried about my own perspective on things, because that's my life. I got to live my life. You got to live your life. Hopefully we have moments where our lives overlap and we create memories and experiences together, right? That are positive, like this moment right now. So yeah, it's a choice. It's a choice.
Whether you think or you can't, you are right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Great, Dai. I love it. Now, what I want to ask you, right? I think this is a little bit, you know, tricky or pertinent question, but I definitely want to give it a shot. Why do you think people don't know what they want? What do you think is the challenge of people failing in society to actually be clear on their, dreams and goals or aspirations?
Well, we're really good at avoiding fear, right? Or at least we strive to avoid fear. And I mean, nothing against us as human beings. I mean, we're top of the food chain, so obviously we've learned to manage it to a certain extent quite well, aren't we? I mean, we're the big animals right on this planet, and we're thriving, we're growing, we're doing a pretty good job. We're quite resilient. However, there's certain things that are right into our DNA that are survival mechanisms, and fear is definitely one of those survival mechanisms. We're afraid of the unknown. Back in the old days, the Paleolithic age, you'd have to be worried. There's a bush over there and it's rumbling. I don't know if I should go near it. I'm going to stay away from that bush. There might be a tiger in there. Like we had certain things that create a lot of fear, and we had those fears to prevent us from going in those areas. And so we have a lot of fears today that are still deeply rooted in us. Some of them are conditioned from an early age, but some of them are just inherent in just who we are. Yeah. Fear of the unknown, fear of success, fear of failure. There's all these sort of limiting aspects that are associated to fear. So, when we start thinking about what do I want, we're afraid to actually speak it out a lot of the times, to say it, because we're always worried. There's a concern that if I say it and I don't achieve it, I'm going to feel bad. I'm going to feel negative. And I'm afraid I'm not going to achieve that. What will people think of me? Right. So there's all these judgment aspects that come into it. And on top of that, as the studies in neurosciences has told us, we have anywhere from 60 to 80,000 thoughts going through our mind every day. 60 to 80,000 thoughts. I don't know about you, man, but how do you filter through all that crap? So it's like, let that alone. And then on top of that, we have all the stresses and the anxieties that are also created most of the time by ourselves, right? There's some external ones, but there's a lot of internal ones. And we strive to escape that. And I think somewhere along the line, we stop dreaming, or we shrink our dreams. We shrink the vision. We shrink our wants, because deep down inside, we either maybe believe that we don't deserve it, we can't achieve it, or we're afraid that if we do try and we fail, now we're going to be labeled a failure. And, I've never ever had a moment where I felt that people begrudge me or feel negative towards me for going for something that I wanted to do and not achieving it. I've never had someone say, well, man, you're a loser. You're a failure. Way to go. You took your kids out of school 5 years ago. You quit a career of 17 years. You had no plan B, and you just said, well, forget it. That's a dream that you have and you're just going to go for it. Well, good on you. Like it unfortunately, there's people with that kind of a blinder on, right? But I find that the people I tend to associate with, they're very supportive. They're like, go for it, because we're all in some fashion trying to chase after that. So this idea of not knowing what we want, I believe people do know what they want, but sometimes they're just afraid to admit it or acknowledge it, because then it might be an action required to follow up to actually go for it, right? And this is it's all in that goal setting stance as well, right? When you start diving into goal setting, they talk about, you might think a goal, great. There's a certain percentage that may achieve just thinking about a goal and going after it and actually achieving it. But then there's also people that will take that goal and write it down. They have a higher percentage of achieving it. And then the greatest percentage is achieved by those that not only think it and write it, but also speak it. Put it out to the world. And so I don't know the exact stats on it, but I know that there's been some pretty good research around that. And I'm sure if you Google it, you can find out the figures on that. But it goes to say, you got to be brave. You got to be willing to say, this is what I want. And I mean, they talk about the law, what is it? Law of reciprocity, right? So this idea of helping others and without the expectation of being helped, but also that idea plays into the universe, right? The law of manifestation, manifesting certain things that we want and asking the universe, the secret, right? I definitely notice that when I'm thinking about certain things and I think about it long enough and I really start telling myself, this is what I want to achieve, it's weird how life seems to just provide it. We could go deeper into that, but I think I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I think you just leave it like that. Yeah, so what you're saying is that, somewhere deep within, we have that answer. We just sometimes struggle with our own demons to embrace it, to hold on to the answer and actually make it a reality. Yeah.
Well, I definitely think, it's a great way to sort of synopsis. I mean, there's obviously other little pieces that probably play into that, little minutia that affect that. But I think the general idea is, yeah, bang on, spot on. You know, like I really do think that there's a lot of those self-limiting beliefs that we have hardwired into us based on past experiences. And if we never deal with those and learn how to work past them or challenge them simply by saying, okay, this belief I have of myself, is that actually true? Is this true? Or am I? Do you know what I mean? Like, and I see this a lot with my clients. You know, there's certain belief systems that are in place based on things that have happened in the past, but they can't, and yes, and ultimately it limits their happiness and their potential to feel fulfilled. So I think, yeah, recognizing those tendencies is a great place to start.
Indeed, 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 indeed. Nah, that's awesome. Guy. Love it, man. Love it. Look, before we get back to our actual thing, that the questions furthermore, I am just curious about one thing, and I think it's gonna be very valuable for the people out there, because look, I mean, let's face it, right? More than 50% of marriages and relationships are currently actually coming apart before they even start. You know
Sure.
what I'm saying? And I mean, here you are, having been in a relationship with your wife for the past 20 years, right? I mean, 20 years is not 2 days, you know what I'm saying? And it takes work, it takes commitment, it takes, a certain way of doing things. So, I mean, while we're at it, I just want to use this opportunity, for us to tell us, for you, sorry, to tell us if there is a particular secret to this relationship thing, right? Is there something that you had to do, what it is that, you both were able to do to keep it together for the past 20 years. And I have no doubt that you're going, again for another 20 years strong, knowing you, die. So I think this will be the famous, the great golden opportunity for you to share with the people out there what it is, right? That's, making you and your woman be together. And definitely, I'm sure, we can learn 1, 2 things out of it.
Well, we're both committed to growth, personally and professionally. So I think that's one thing that we have in common right from the get-go. We both have big ambitions
Okay.
and dreams and passions, and we're not afraid to go after them. And of
Okay.
course, we've had our moments in life where we've had some divergent paths, and also, I've gone through certain things in my own life that have limited my potential in a lot of ways, and has actually affected our relationship quite negatively. And there's a big reason why I stopped drinking alcohol just over 10 years ago. It was an escape mechanism for me. It was my way of avoiding just lots of stuff. Basically, my unhappiness with some of the situations that were in my life at the time, which, is a whole nother conversation. But ultimately, one thing that we've recognized is, as much as we care about each other, we've wanted to build a life together, and there's been moments where communication breakdown has been very real. That's where most of our challenges have lied, and just in our inability to connect and communicate and fully support one another. And this sort of boils down to just understanding each other's love language. That was a very influential book in our lives, because recognizing that, in relationships, there's a lot of give, but there's also a lot of receiving, right? And understanding how to ebb and flow with that, and really getting to know your partner well and understand what they need, and not be afraid to ask them, what do you need right now? To feel supported, to feel loved, to feel cared for, to feel safe, and be willing to then do what's required, and unconditionally, right? Without that expectation of having something given to you in return, because it's a partnership. It really is. And there's also another book called Unconscious. Is it Unconscious Loving? Actually, I think I got it on the bookshelf here. Where is it? Oh, I think I lent it out to somebody. Yeah, I did. Sorry. Unconscious Loving, or Conscious Loving, by Gay Hendricks and his wife. And Gay Hendricks wrote a book called The Big Leap, which a lot of people are familiar with, because it's really a powerful mindset book that talks about overcoming self-limiting beliefs. But he wrote a relationship book with his wife, because they've been in a relationship for a long time, and they shared some of the strategies and ways that they work to ensure that each person is fully supportive of the other person achieving what they want. So let me just explain this really quick. My wife was very supportive in me building my original business, an equipment retail operation with a partner, really provided me the space and the support that I required to make that my main focus, to really put the time in to build that to where we built it. And vice versa, my wife's had a number of other passions for herself, especially like traveling as a family. 5 years ago, that was a big thing that she wanted to do. So me honoring that and providing her the space to go after what she wants and supporting her in that endeavor. So you see, in essence, I'm pushing her, she was pushing me to go do what I need to do to achieve what I want. Recognizing that our paths come in, we're together, but they also go apart. And it's sort of this ebb and the flow of the, us going, but not being afraid. A lot of people are afraid to push their partners to go after what they want because they're afraid of losing them. That's not our issue. That's never been the concern. And bottom line, as much as we've had experienced a fair share of lows, the highs have been pretty damn special, and we're committed to seeing it through. Like we envision growing old together on a beach. Like that's just what we're living into, and so it's having that vision together, that shared vision as well, which is really powerful. So there's a lot of things I know you can sort of take away from that. I know I can't give anybody any one thing, but a couple of those books I highly recommend anybody in a relationship, if you and your partner read those, I think you'll get a lot from them. It's just got a lot. It'll just give you some tools that you can use, because it's when a relationship is great, it doesn't feel like there's any work required.
Indeed.
It really doesn't.
Indeed, yeah.
But when the relationship feels strained or doesn't feel as fun, and there's challenges happening and differences of opinion and perspective and conflict comes from that, it's easier sometimes to just say, I'm out. That's the path of least resistance, is peace out. See you later. I'll go try again. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times we haven't addressed whatever the underlying issue is. And it's not a matter of them. Most of the time it's about us, me personally. And so it's the work I've done personally over the last 10 years that's really made our relationship stronger.
Wow. Interesting, man. That's really interesting. So you saying that, every great thing that has been happening thus far in your relationship, a lot has to do with self-development.
Yeah. Well, listen, I'm not a relationship expert. I'm in a relationship.
Sure,
I've lots of relationships, but trial and error is not necessarily the most efficient way of learning. We know this, like we learn to ride a bike that way, but is it the most efficient way to ride a bike? I guess so. It's just the way it's always been done. But, is going into relationship after relationship the best way to figure out how to have a healthy relationship? No. Well, why not learn from people that already have done that work? And that's where, counseling, like we even most recently, we were doing some relationship counseling. We had 6 weeks of it just to brush up on some tools, learn a couple things, get a different outsider perspective on helping us work with some of the conflict that we've been running up against. So it's always a work in progress, right? But that's the key. It's progress. We're not seeking perfection, but we are seeking to continue to grow together as well as apart,
Yeah. As long as there is commitment from both parties to work, right?
Yeah. That's right. Absolutely. 100%.
Love that, man. Love that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard it again from the man all the way from Vancouver, Manuel. Today we're hanging out with him. He's a transformational coach, actually. By the sound of it, soon to be a relationship coach too.
No. I help with relationships, but I'm not a relationship coach. I let people know that. But I'll help you with so many other areas, and it ends up your relationships get better anyways. But a lot of the work has to happen from the individual. You got to work on you before you can work on others. That's so cliche, right? We hear the one about the airplane, the mask falling. You got to put it on your own. You got to look after your own self before you can look after others. Well, yeah, it's true. But as true as it is, do we all do that? No. And that's the issue, right? So I invite people, just start working on you,
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. So we're still on IGTTV, Ignte Transformation TV, the place where inspiration is made in its rawest form possible. And today we are with the big man all the way from Vancouver, Manuel. I've got another question for you, right? In your introduction, you were speaking about the 3 P's: passion, purpose, and process, right? So, what do these 3 P's have to do with the kind of life that we live, the fulfilled life that we want to live, I live a life free of fear, self-doubt, and low self-esteem. Because you know what? My belief is that, there's no enemies outside if there are no enemies within, right? And the ones within are nothing more but those three demons: fear, self-doubt, and low self-esteem. If we have confidence, and believe in ourselves, in something that we want to do, we'll give all our best, right? But once we doubt in ourselves, definitely we're not gonna be able to invest ourselves fully in that. And consequently, that's where, we get to, should I say, make mistakes, right? And sometimes very costly ones, right? So you spoke about the three P's: the passion, purpose, and process, which are definitely some things that you live by. And in everywhere that I go, all over the internet, I see it everywhere: the three P's of die, three P's of die, three P's of die, right? So what are these three P's for you, and how do you navigate them into success?
Well, it's sort of evolved to that. It must have been, I don't know, a number of years ago. This idea, like, we started talking about the passion in our lives, right? Like, it's when you're feeling impassioned by something, like it's something that you just lose track of time on, right? Like, think about passion. When you're working on something that you're passionate about, they equate this to feeling like you're in that flow state, as psychologists will call it, where you're so focused on the thing that you're working on, the thing that you're doing, maybe the sport you're playing, the book you're reading, the work that you're doing. But you're just so passionate, so excited about that. I mean, it's stuff that you would do, and you would do whether you got paid for it or not. It's that thing that just resonates with you, and you lose. Some people, it's video games. I know some people are very passionate about video games. My brother's one of them. Like, he loses all track of time. Everything else around him just goes away, and all he focuses on that experience that he's having right then and there. And so that same sort of idea, it's in our lives, but sometimes we lose it, right? We lose it. We lose it, or we become less passionate about certain things that we do. And it doesn't mean that we shouldn't pursue more passionate things or explore for other passions. I do encourage people to do that. But it's nice to have something in our lives that we're passionate about, because it will also help us fuel this idea of purpose, the second P. And purpose, when I think Mark Twain said it best, there's two extremely important days in our lives. Right. Arguably, as he says, the two most important days. The first day is the day you're born, but the second day is the day that you figure out why you were born, right? And people are like, well, why I was born? Well, I was born because my parents, that's what brought me here. But no, there's more than that, and the Japanese call it ikigai. This idea, and pardon my loose definition here or explanation, but it's really the reason you get up in the morning. And when you get up in the morning, are you excited about the day that's about to happen? Because if you're not, well, maybe you got to rediscover what that ikigai is for you, that reason, that purpose, right? That why. And when passion and purpose are aligned, powerful. However, if that goes unbridled, so like a horse without the reins on it, it's wild. It can go all over the place. It might be hard to navigate to achieve a certain result sometimes. We can be really passionate about a new sport that we're learning, but if you don't get the proper coaching and support and someone that teaches you the ropes or the specific techniques, it can take a lot longer to learn, to grow, to adapt, to evolve. And that's where the third P comes into place: process. Because there's certain processes that are already existing. I'm not talking about going out and making a new wheel. There's already lots of wheels out there, Well, just figure out the process that's going to allow you to align your passion and your purpose to create the life that you want, or the result that you want in your business, or whatever it may be. So these three can work together very, very well. And the closer you bring them in alignment, the more amazing the results can be. And almost feel like effortless at times. And so looking for a process, looking for someone that has already maybe achieved what you're looking to achieve, and finding out, well, how did they do that? And reverse engineering. A lot of time, there's a lot of people out there, coaches, mentors, gurus, you know, like there's people that have provided lots of amazing processes. So go and find the one that aligns with your passion and purpose, and then just learn to embrace these, right? And so those are sort of what I use loosely to help people remember, you know, 3 Ps. It's pretty easy to remember: that passion, purpose, process. Well, what's my passion? What am I passionate about? You know, what do I feel that my purpose is? Okay, well, you know, start asking ourselves these questions. Just like, what do I want for my life? You know, it's a weird question, something that we don't ask ourselves very often, because we think we have plenty of time to figure it out. But the truth is, you know, time is something that we lose a little bit every day. Every day, you know, it's gone. If the wall, you know, when we were born, we had a clock on the wall that started counting down, we would look at time a little bit differently, but it's always counting up. It's always moving forward. But we don't realize there is a destination that we're always moving closer towards. We just don't know where that destination is. And it's both exciting, but also at times a little bit fearful. So don't let that limit you, but recognize every moment that you have is pretty freaking special. And it's not to be taken for granted. You know?
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. While you talk about passion, right? What would you say is the difference between passion and gift? You know, being gifted and being passionate about something. Do you think they are the same, or they are totally different?
Well, I think they definitely align, and there's lots of complements. They complement one another. I think the two could almost be interchanged at times. I wouldn't necessarily say they're synonymous. But I think some people have natural innate abilities to do certain things and to do it very well, very quickly. And there are often things that they become very passionate about. You know, like they discover that passion very quickly, I should say. But there's certain athletes that are extremely gifted, but you have to recognize they still had to work a lot to get to that level that they're at. And if they didn't have some deep level of passion there to help keep them excited and focused and getting into that flow state where they were dedicated to get up at 4:30 in the morning to go to the ice rink to play hockey, and they do that for, you know, 14, 15 years with the hopes that they get a chance to play in the NHL. I mean, that's a lot of dedication, and there's no guarantee. So I would, you know, as gifted as that kid may have been at 3 years old, picking up a hockey stick and getting on skates and picking it up very quickly, awesome. But without that passion, I don't think he would have sustained it. You know, usually the ones that make it to those high levels, there's a deep level of passion there. You know, they get into those flow states. And when you start looking into more of the sports psychology of it all, you can see a lot more proof backing this. You know, there's a lot more research and studies. I'm not a sports psychologist, but I'm always fascinated by the mindset that athletes have. I mean, they work most of their life to achieve a certain level of elitism within a very specific endeavor.
Indeed.
Like that, I mean, masterful levels. But the amount of life that they commit to getting to that level is just phenomenal. Like hats off to them. Like, there's immense dedication, and not to be taken lightly. But without that passion, it's like, why the heck would you just keep doing that? You know, like I've played sports and I like sport. It's great. It's fun, but it was never lit me up like that. You know, there's other things that I find way more enjoyable that I'd like to invest or spend my time doing. And so that's, for me, what I would sort of explain as the difference without getting into a dictionary definition, right?
Yeah, love it, love it, love it, love it, That we almost towards the end now, right? So,
Sure.
I mean, in summary, out of this, right? We've spoken about the 3 Ps. We've spoken about, you know, taking action towards your dreams and goals, overcoming your fears, right? Listening to that voice within and knowing what you want, getting that clarity, and definitely bringing the courage out to be the man or woman that you got to be. And also we spoke about relationship, right? One of the most important areas of our lives too, right? Being committed to the relationship, love the person in your life, unconditional love, right? Loving them without expecting anything in return. But what would you say, right, is that thing? Like somebody who say that thing that does the thing. right? What would you say is your thing that's your thing, right? For you as in die, and why?
You know, it's super interesting. I'm always fascinated by those personality tests,
Okay.
you know, like just like the Myers-Briggs. And I mean, there's so many of them out there. And my whole family and I the other day did personality tests just to sort of see how we all compare. And, you know, I realized that I'm a pretty good dreamer, but I'm also a pretty good action taker.
All right.
For the most part. For the most part. So when I realize that there's something that I want to do, I'm pretty bullheaded about just going to do it, like going after it. So I pick up things, I wouldn't say quickly, but I got that kind of a work ethic to just, as an old mentor say, you muckle down. But I'm also good at recognizing the like when I'm working with clients, I can usually recognize what is that one thing they need to be focusing on right now. And by focusing on that one thing on the regular, they're going to see forward momentum in the areas that they want to change in their life. So it's recognizing in individuals, what is the one action that they can be taking right now that's going to create the greatest amount of impact for them right now. And so that is a skill that I've harnessed over the last 25 years of just working with clients all over the place. And I like to think that it's kind of like my superpower, you know, so I can sort of bring out of people that this ability in themselves, this confidence, if you will, to commit to a process and then see it through to create the results that they want. And also accountability. Right. Sometimes it's nice to have that third party or that someone other than ourselves and our immediate family to help hold us accountable to some of the things that we want to go after. Because every day isn't always great, but it can be good. But you got to choose it to be so.
Awesome.
I got some Bali delay, I think.
You gotta choose it to be so, right? At the end of the day, it boils down to the choice, right? What it is that you choose and what it is that you truly, right, deeply want. If you really want it enough, you'll go after it, right? Great. Awesome, Dai. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was Dai Manuel all the way from Vancouver. He's a transformational coach, a keynote speaker, a distinguished Toastmaster member, and most importantly, he's dating his wife. He's loving his family with his 2 daughters. And that was the man we were with today that was sharing with us some key lessons, right? If you haven't listened, then I think it's your loss. But you know what? Because we are kind at Ignte Transformation TV, we spoke about, you know, things like being committed to your dreams and goals, right? Things about not taking your mistakes as a downfall, but actually a learning curve, right? Why do people don't know what they want? It's because they don't want to embrace that voice they have within. That's why Dai shared with us today. So pay attention to that voice within and embrace it, hold on to it, and make something out of it, right? And definitely love your woman, man. Love her. Be committed to her. Be in it and do it the way you gotta do it. So thank you very much, Dai. It was awesome. One more time hanging out with you, right? Let me just, again, let me add that you are live from Vancouver and it's actually almost 3 o'clock in the morning there now.
Oh no, I'm okay. I'm like 7 p.m. So I think
Okay.
we're good. We're good. This is the right time for us to be talking because I know it's your morning tomorrow.
Yeah.
You're calling me from the future.
I'm calling you
and
I'm actually calling from the future.
You are, and I guess tomorrow looks good. So thank you.
There is tomorrow after all.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you again, Stephen. It's been a pleasure.
We're gonna close this now. If you have, you know, anything to say, where should people find you? It's no doubt that you know you're pretty busy. You know, your calendar is, you know, very very booked. So I'm always honored that you always have that time allotted whenever I reach out to you. I really really appreciate it. Where can people find you? And yeah, you know, how do you work and how can you make?
Well, you know, the easiest thing to do is just connect for a conversation. I love conversations because I think it's a great way. You know, we sort of talked about this idea of our hero's journey, our life's journey that we find ourselves, but we're all on our own individual journey. But what's super cool is every once in a while you get these little storylines or narratives, these journeys that we're on, and they overlap, they intersect for a moment in time. Sometimes longer, sometimes we're together for a bit longer. Like you and I were together in Bali for a period of time, and then I went to Vancouver and you stayed in Bali. So our path converged and then it diverged. And I love those moments of divergence, those moments where the paths come together and there's an experience that's mutually shared and created. And so that starts with just a simple, hey, hello, being willing to say hi to someone. And so I love social media for that. And I'm most active on Facebook and on Instagram. And my handles are just my name, which is pretty fortunate having a unique name. So all the social platforms, including my website, it's just my name. But reach out, send me a message, say, hey, Di, I heard you in Stephen's conversation. This is what I want in my life. This is my dream. Just share that with me. It's a great place for us to start a conversation and then just see where it goes from there. Like it's just simple. The world's may feel big at times, but it's actually a lot smaller than we believe it to be. And, but it's often just takes us extending a hand and someone saying, hey, nice to meet you. So that's the easiest way to get a hold of me. And if people have any questions or want to chat, reach out. I'm here.
Awesome, awesome. That is right there, arms open. Thank you again, Di. So that was Di Manuel, ladies and gentlemen, on Ignite Transformation TV. And I'm Stephen Dossou, right? All the way from Togo, TOGO. I'm an inspirational speaker, transformational coach, and co-founder of Leadership University. It is my mission in life to bring you the very best possible every single day, right? So that when you take a step, when you finally do take that step, you have everything you need for you to conquer, to be a winner, a game changer, and an overcomer. Remember, it can be great. See you on top. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Stephen.